Hello friends, Dr. Nels here, coming to you with a follow-up from last week's discussion on discipline and the definition and a little bit of the power of discipline. Today we're going to be on the power of discipline. And I learned this quote from an incredibly successful gentleman named Tony Robbins, and many of you have probably heard of him, read him, listened to him, watched him. The guy is absolutely phenomenal, and he's just a beast of energy all the time. He has some very specific things in his routine, daily routine of life that help him get to where he wants to be. And I heard him say this, it just nailed in my brain. And he said, we often overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in decades. And for me, it really rang home when I heard that, I don't know, a month or two ago, because at this point in my life, I've been doing what I've been doing for decades, plural. And as I interact with big time go-getters, rock star millennials, now starting rock star Gen Zers, we have to pick them out, we have to bring them along, coach them, help them, grow them, mold them, so they can be incredible human beings that are incredibly successful. But as we do that, we have to talk to them about patience. Patience is something most all of us lack. But millennials and Gen Zers, given these sort of things and these sort of things, they've grown up never not having those things. And technology produces impatience. And so how do we help coach and grow and mold those folks and ourselves and anybody on our team, regardless of generation, on patience, especially when you're shooting for the stars for destroying mediocrity and being wildly successful? And I would tell you that most of the wildly successful people I know, they didn't just say, hey, I want to achieve this goal in a year. It takes decades to move the needle in an extraordinary way. You can't do it in 6 months. You can't do it in a year. You can't do it in 2 years, in my opinion. You can do some wildly successful things, but if you sit down and talk to people that are wildly successful over the course of decades, they will tell you, you're going to need some patience. You're going to need some extreme discipline to hit a bunch of singles. Forget about the home runs. To hit a bunch of singles, some bunts. You've got to grind. You've got to go hard and grind when you don't want to grind. Grind when it's painful. Get up when others are sleeping. Work when others are done working. Because I'll promise you, if you do that over the course of a decade even, let alone 2 decades, if you do that over the course of 1 or 2 decades, what happens is you bury yourself in those things, and you look up after 10 years, you poke your head up and you turn around, and you look behind you and you're like, holy shit, I got a lot done. And for me, I've been fortunate enough to do that now for over 2 decades, and you poke your head up and I've looked back and it's like, holy crap, we've been through a lot, we've done a lot. And it's all been very intentional. We don't get to where we've gotten without extreme intentionality, but it wasn't overnight, it wasn't over the course of a year, it wasn't over the course of 5 years. It's literally been over the course of over 2 decades. And so we often, or I would say even always, overestimate what we want to try to get done in a year, but we pretty much always underestimate what we can get done in decades. And when we're younger, me included, I was impatient, and you want to move further, faster. But if I'd have heard that statement a long time ago, I think it would have helped reduce some of my pains, some of the challenges I went through, because I was pushing on the gas too hard and I needed to let off. And I think that's part of the reason the statement rang so true to me was my impatience led to some pain and some heartache and some trouble. And I needed to sometimes maybe just sit back and chill for a minute, not press so hard. So anyway, be thinking about that. We often overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we always underestimate what we can do in a decade or decades. Put your discipline to work, make it happen, get this stuff done, destroy mediocrity. We're here to help. We're glad you're watching and listening. Please subscribe here if you like this information. Feel free to comment. We'd love to hear back from you. Thanks for joining us, folks. See you in a week.